it's Dana from Bullies Keep Out, and this is our episode 23. And today I'm going to be talking about authenticity. And one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this topic is because I think with social media, a lot of us have lost that. Um, and then there's people that, you know, we see a lot of people talking about it, like being authentic, how important being authentic is and being ourselves, but so many people feel that they can't be themselves, or they're afraid to be themselves, or they're just not themselves because people don't want to genuinely be authentic. What we see on social media could be a complete facade. We don't know, because unless we know that person to some extent, what a lot of what we see is a glimpse. And there's a lot of assumptions being made, and there's so many things. Like, one thing that I know is a pet peeve of mine, and I see a lot, and just in general, it's not a good thing to do, is make assumptions. You know, it's just not, you can't make assumptions and call them facts, because assumptions aren't facts. They're your points of view and their opinions. And I think with all this assumption and judgment, it's made people not afraid to be themselves. It's made people not want to be authentic. You know, I speak from experience when I say that I always felt that I was pretty honest. I've always been a very honest person. We all tell little white lies, or we hide our feelings, or we lie to, like, pretend we're fine. I mean, or to protect people. We care about our love, or whatever the reason is. But I know that I was never really being authentic from the time that I was younger, going through the things that I went through, because I was always that fake it till you make it nonsense that I really don't believe in anymore. I was always smiling and laughing, making others smile and laugh, giving back, being, everybody's, greatest friend and cheerleader, and doing things for people, and just going out of my way, and no matter what, and just because that's just what I was just always that type of person. But was that being authentic? And it really wasn't, because I wasn't really being me. I feel like, do these people really love me for me? Because there's so many things that they didn't know about me, about my past, the things that I didn't share, things that I didn't talk about, because I was never a talker when it came to myself. I always listened to everybody else's stories and problems, or wanted to help them. I neglected myself. And I think that made me unauthentic, because I wasn't being me. I was being a version of somebody that everybody needed and that everybody wanted me to be. And I think that that's important, that we recognize that, is that you can't just be what everybody needs you to be and never be yourself, because in doing that, you lose yourself. And I've lost myself probably more than once. And there were times, like, you almost get so confused that you don't even know who you are anymore. You don't know what you want. You don't know what you're looking for in life. And it gets so entangled in a web that it takes forever to get out of, and you feel unhappy and completely lost. And I've been there. I was there for years, because it's not an easy process to also get out of. You got to work to get out of that process, and it takes time, but you can get there, and you can do it. And I try to live authentically now, even though sometimes I'm like, should I post that? Should I not post that? Should I be this emotional? Should I say this about myself? Should I reveal this? Should I reveal that? Should I do this? I'm constantly questioning it, because I'm afraid and fear of being judged and what people are going to say or think. And I also, when sharing my past and story, I don't want pity. I don't want people feeling sorry for me. And I've said this in the past, probably on other podcasts and in videos that I do on my on my social media, or in tweeting, that I don't want pity or people feeling sorry for me, because I'm not a victim. I'm not, we start out as victims, and I was having this conversation with a very dear friend of mine. We all start out as victims when we go through things, but we turn into survivors, and I don't want to come from a place of being a victim. I never do. I share and tell my story to help others and inspire and motivate them, hopefully, and let them see they're not alone. But it's really hard, because I'm not used to just being my full self, being full on Dana, where everybody sees everything and I'm not hiding anything. I was so used to hiding things for so many years that I think that's, it made my anxiety worse, because I've had anxiety disorder and panic disorder since I was, probably, I think around 14, maybe 13. And with mild depression, kind of goes hand in hand with that. Everybody has different levels of the depression. Mine is just like a mild, I go in and out. um and sometimes I have the depression without the anxiety and the panic. It just, they are all correlated. But I think there were just so many times that I didn't know how to be myself, and I know that many people out there probably have that exact same feeling, and I'm sure they do. In fact, I know they do because I've had friends that do, and it's just I got so tired of it that I was like, you know what? Forget about it. I don't care. I'm gonna be me, and whoever's gonna love me and like me for me is gonna like, and that's it. They're gonna like me and love me for me, and if they don't, oh well, then they're not supposed to be in my life. Because you want people that are gonna like you for the real you, not who they think you are, and then when you're terrified, and then when you come out as something else to them, you fear losing that relationship or friendship, whether it be romantic or not, and if you have real people in your life, you most likely won't. But they might ask, like, why were you afraid to be you? And I've had people say that to me, like, why would that make somebody not want to care about you or love you? And it's like, that stems from things that have happened personally to me in my past and things that have been done or said to me. But, you know, I think it's so important that we live authentically and we let people see who we really are and try not the good and the bad, the dark and the light. We're not hiding anything. Like, hey, I'm gonna take a selfie, but I'm gonna make sure that like if my house is messy in the back, you're gonna see that mess in the back because I'm gonna say, well, here's a pile of laundry, yay, because I'm human and we all have that. Like this is my authentic self in life, not just this perfect stuff that we show. The selfie has to be perfect and filtered. It has to be a certain type of background. Nobody can see the mess in my house. Nobody can hear my dog barking. Nobody can do that. Blah, blah, blah. There's so many things that we're so worried about people seeing. And if we want to live authentically, we have to not worry about those things. And I've learned this, one of the accounts that I love to follow, and I just love her work, and I met her a long time ago, is Jennifer Passoff. And, you know, we became friends, and I haven't talked to her or seen her in a while, like on social media, but I haven't seen her in a while. The last time I did was at a workshop in New York City, one of her yoga workshops that she comes to do, and we used to talk more. But our obviously lives get very busy. She's doing amazing things. She just finished in a book that I have, that I was honored to be part of a little video she did about when her book came out. And she practices this. One of the most authentic people I've ever met, because she's inspiring, but she also doesn't give a shit, to be blunt. She will show you every part of herself. She will show you every wrinkle. She'll show you everything because she doesn't care. She doesn't want to be perfect. She doesn't have to be perfect. She doesn't feel the need to be perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect. But I think she wants everybody, I think her message is more, and is similar to the type of message I like to share and spread, is that just be you and be authentic. And there's nothing better than that, because, that's how you find out where you are meant to be in life and who are the people that are supposed to be in your life. And that's how you find the best people that are for you. That's how you find your circle of friends in your tribe, and that's how you expand it, by saying, hey, this is me, and love me or don't, and that's okay. Because not everybody's going to like everybody, and that's okay, and they don't have to. But, I've seen, like, some of her stuff, and it makes me laugh, because it makes me smile, because it's like, I was like that years ago. It was like you just didn't want anybody to see behind the curtain, almost like the Wizard of Oz. You didn't want anybody to see behind the curtain and all the mess. You just wanted them to see what they saw maybe as this amazing life or glamorous, or, oh, I want that. I want, and you know what it does? It gives false, ideals of what people think that they want. Oh, I want that life. Oh, this person has that. I want that. I wish I had that. Oh, I can't believe, how did they get that? Oh, they're so lucky. But you're not seeing like the whole picture. You're seeing like a piece of a puzzle. We're not seeing the whole thing. And that's what people need to realize, is that unless someone is really open about their life and sharing things constantly, you're not seeing that whole puzzle. So don't assume that you're lesser of a person, or you're not good enough, or you're trying to live up to people, and or you're not as you know oh, they seem perfect. Again, nobody's perfect. I want that lifestyle. You don't know that you want that lifestyle, because you're just seeing, again, a piece of it. Everybody's life is messy. Life is messy. Life is beautiful, but it is messy. and it can bring you down to your knees, and it can knock you out for the a 10 count. I know because I've been there, and I've also had amazing things too. And I've also seen what life can do when, things are good, because things are not always bad. But if you're walking around thinking that they're always going to be bad, you're just going to kind of create that energy around you, which I've also done in my past. And I had to learn these things through different types of mentors and coaches and people that I listened to and worked with and people that I watched and followed and connected with and learned myself. I mean, I went to school for psychology, and I have a degree in it, and I have in criminal justice and child development. So yes, I am, I know things, but I also like life, real world experience. I don't think you can just get everything from a book. I don't think you can just get everything it's just in one place. I think you have to take a variety of tools and techniques and intertwine them, and you get them from all over, online, offline, school, personal experience, people around you, new people, old people in your life. There's always learning. It's like continuing education. There's always something for us to learn. We're always going to have to better ourselves, and that's never going to change. But living authentically is also so freeing, and it's going to give you a peace that you've never felt before. I can't tell you the peace that I have felt when I wasn't feeling that I was pretending to be happy or pretending that everything was always wonderful and okay and positive 24/7, because nobody is, and that's okay. None of us are. I mean, we're going to have bad days, bad moments. We're going to do things we're going to make mistakes. We're going to do things we regret possibly. I mean, we're human beings. We're not meant to not do those things, because we don't learn anything when we don't fall. And you know, holding grudges or holding things against people or misreading situations or not communicating, those are all things that go with living authentically. Because to live authentically, you have to be willing to give full effort. You have to be willing to give all of yourself to people and people in your life. And when you do the type of work I do outside of my career, and I do Bullies Keep Out and mentoring and coaching, I have to be I have to be authentic, because if I'm not being authentic, I'm not practicing what I preach. I'm just sitting there going, you have to do this and do that, and no, I'm going to help you with this and that, but I'm not going to do any of it either, or I'm just going to show you like the perfect parts and the good parts of my life, and you're never going to see anything that I ever go through or know anything about me or my life. I realized that when I first started, I was doing that. People kept saying, "What's your story? What's your background? I want to hear your story. How did you start Bullies Keep Out?" And in interviews, I've talked a little bit about it, but I realized that until I started doing that, a lot of people might have gotten the impression that, oh, well, yeah, when everything's wonderful for her, she's never been through anything, or everything's, and I've actually had people think that or say that to me. And I'm like, no, that's far from it. And I realized that until I started being more authentic in who I really was, I wasn't going to create the change and the inspiring that inspire people like I wanted to. And that was my goal. That has always been my goal. Personally, professionally, and within my organization, in all areas of my life, I want to be authentic. And sometimes you're going to be that pain in the ass, and sometimes people might even find it annoying, and that's fine. They get over it, because when someone genuinely cares about you, is fond of you, likes you, that's not going to matter. They're just going to have a moment. We're all pains in the asses. You know what? It's not it's not any big secret. There's not one person that I've ever met, and I adore so many people, but they're also pains in the asses at times. And sometimes we're like, I roll, it's okay. And you don't have to feel bad or guilty about that, because again, I think we're so afraid to be human. Like, we're so afraid to feel our emotions because of what they do to us. And I know what it was for me. I I was afraid of feeling, because I felt if I stayed numb, I wouldn't have to feel the pain. Like, the pain, I felt the pain would just go away in a lot of unhealthy ways and things that I was doing in my life, that it wasn't making it better. and it was hurting my authenticity. And I was, it's almost like it's around certain people I was this one person, and then around other people I felt a little bit more free, and then I was back to my persona that I felt people had to see, and then your professional persona and all this other stuff. And then I was just like, you know what, as you get older, and I started getting into my 30s, I was like, when I hit 30, I was just like, you know what, enough of this. Like, I gotta like start making real changes. Like, because if I want to do the things that I want to do in my life and be in this, like, reach my goals that, trust me, not being authentic can hinder, believe it or not. And I just realized that if I didn't start doing those things, that my life was never going to change. And to create change, you have to be willing to change yourself. And that was a big step for me. And that was a big aha moment realization that I had. And I have many aha moments. And then, I fall into that little rabbit hole. And then it's, I kind of got to dig myself out. And I've always done everything on my own because I don't like to rely on people, and I felt like that I couldn't because I was always disappointed in the past. But I realized the more I trusted certain, like, I realized the real ones in my life, the authentic ones in my life, when I realized that when I did let go of that leash, I guess, and didn't hold, like, didn't rein it in so much, that I was able to relieve some of that burden for myself because they were willing to take some of it on with me and go through it with me. And I didn't know that that really existed until I found it, until I started letting people in and seeing authentic Dana, authentic D, because that's what people who know me and my friends call me, and it kind of emotionally did break me down into like a million little pieces. I like kind of shattered many of times, and it wasn't a bad thing. I think that it's very important that we allow ourselves to get to that point where we allow ourselves to completely break when we need to break, or let our heart completely break when we need to let it break. And I saw that. I forgot what show I was watching, and it was something that she's a well-known coach, and I just, my mind is blank right now, but she said, like, to so many people that I used to hear her say this in her show, have you ever really let your heart fully break? And was there anybody there to hold you or be there for you? And it's like I sat there and watched it, and I was just like, my mouth was open and I fell apart because I never did. I never cried in front of people. I never let anybody see any weakness in me because I didn't want them to. I wanted to be this strong rock for everybody. Meantime, I needed a strong rock. And I wasn't even that for myself. I couldn't even help myself. I completely lost function on how to, like, help myself. And then there were times I didn't want to, and I just didn't care about myself enough. And that's where it gets unhealthy and dangerous, when you stop caring about yourself. Yeah, it's great to care about other people and help other people, but when you stop caring and loving yourself, or you never did to begin with, it's really hard to not continually fall apart. And it's also hard to help other people when you need to be taking care of yourself, because if you're not well, it's hard to help other people get to that point. And it took me a long time to figure that out, but I eventually did. And don't beat yourself up, because things take time, and understand that things take time. And allow yourself that time. Allow yourself to allow yourself to take small steps. If you need to take small steps, if you need to pause and take a break, take that break. I've had to. um you know I've there's so many things that I could say in this podcast, in this topic of authenticity. And but I would be sitting here talking for hours. But and you all know I can talk. But I can't tell you how important it was to just really let people see me for me. And I allowed a lot of power and control over abusers, and just really not the greatest people um, put things in my head to where I believed it. You know, when you're young and you're a kid, you're told something so many times you believe it. And it's really hard to get out of that mentality as you get older because it stays with you. And, you know, um, once you get into that mentality, it's hard to be authentic because you're made to feel like being you isn't good enough. Because it wasn't good enough for the people that should have been the most important people in your life that it should have been good enough for. Like the most important people in your life, I might have said that backwards. The most important people in your life you should have been good enough for. And when you're made to feel like you aren't, the last thing you're going to do is feel like you're good enough to new people that come in. And you're going to be afraid to let them in. And even when you do, you're just going to be this, you're just going to still feel broken. And you're never going to not feel broken until you start to put those pieces together. But you have to do that. I mean, I had people help me and I had support and I had people there for me, but ultimately I had to be the one to pick up all those pieces and put them back together. You know, and I credit them for a lot, but I also realize that I have to credit myself, and I think that's another thing that we forget to do is give ourselves credit for how much we have accomplished and how much we have done in our own lives and how far we've come, and we only see the failures and we don't see the wins. And I have a friend that does this too, and we both do it, and we were talking about this actually recently. And you know, a lot of my conversations that I have with people in my life kind of inspire a lot of these topical podcasts. That I hope inspire and help you guys. Because I want you guys to understand that, like, you're not alone in this world, and you can do so many things, but the one thing that I want people to not be afraid of to do, because as I said, I mean, I speak from experience of what I went through, is not being yourself. It's the worst feeling and the worst thing you could do, because it's just you're not living the life that you're probably meant to be living, because you're so busy trying to create one based on, you almost can say, character that you're creating. And I don't know, I felt that I played so many parts in my life that I never got to play my own role. I played so many roles in my life that it took me a long time to finally just play myself. And once I started doing that, I started seeing different things happening and changes, good changes. And like I said, there's always going to be bad. We're never going to get rid of that. You can't escape life. Again, life is messy and it could just really stink sometimes, but it's also eye-opening and just amazing in so many ways that I really didn't see, because I had closed myself off so much from it, from the world and from life, and just was kind of like in my own bubble. And even though I had good people in my life, I just kind of stayed in that bubble. And it hurt myself and it hurt the people that were in my life. So it's something that we want to avoid doing. So please don't be afraid to be authentic and let people see you for the real you. It's the best advice that I can give you. I've healed in so many different ways by just being me and being authentic and letting the world at this point see me, and they're going to be seeing more of me. As I said, I've mentioned a couple times that I'm in a book that's coming out in April, and I'm not afraid of it anymore, and I don't want any of you to be. And I think that that's a message that we really need to spread. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Until next time, please subscribe, rate, give 5 stars, be kind, love big.